Chapter 17. Farewell, my son. That night during the feast at Banjenikebu's home, Queen, with the entire family's help, talked of Abuxigun's favorite dishes. Queen looked at Abuxigun as ache, trying to get a response. Abuxigun felt testers. This is Auntie Isabella's favorite, sake it to me, cake. It isn't as good as hers, but it's still delicious. Abuxigun said as he took a big bite. Queen smiled, yes. He tried it and followed her instructions the same way she did, but it's just not as moist as hers. Queen got up to get some more milk for Abuxigun because she didn't want him to see her cry. Abuxigun knew something was wrong, gaps. Banjenikebu smiled, yes, son. Abuxigun stood up and looked at everyone's face. He remembered you telling me repeatedly that a tear-eye view will always be better than a bird's-eye view. Banjenikebu smiled, it is. Abuxigun continued, you and Mommy are not telling me something. Banjenikebu cleared his throat, well, there is something. As Queen returned with the milk and placed it on the table, Banjenikebu looked at Queen, baby, please, have a seat. Banjenikebu turned to Abuxigun as he looked at all of his children. Sabas came to me and told me that he needed to send the people back home, and it was because of that many of the people back home are enlightened. But he also told me that 2 of my sons will go, but only 1 will return and... Well, you're the one that fit the profile. You have to remember how he came here and what he'd been through, to be where I am, and to know that's about plan is the best. Everyone in the room was saddened, but Abuxigun stood up, if this is about will, let it be so, for if he become great in about name, who can be against me? Paps, you and Mommy have taught all of us to be skilled warriors as well as humble servants. Let's consider this a grand occasion, not a sad one. Anaya turned on some music. Well, let's get this party started then. Abuxigun's brothers and sisters started dancing while Frederick and Banjenikebu laughed and watched. After everyone had left, Banjenikebu was about to go to sleep, and they thought about what Abuxigun had said and got up and brought, my son. Someone greater than myself. What or who can that be? Greater than me. Let me see. They would have to be a part of me. They couldn't live in eternity in order for me to see wiser, more knowledgeable, and more understanding. Would be his greatest accomplishment, someone's in order to be better than me? What or who honors could that be? My son. That night, a storm woke Banjenikebu. The wind was blowing hard, and hail ran down the seas of golf balls. Queen got up and closed the windows as lightning struck the ground. It's going to be a bad one, she said as she climbed back into bed. Banjenikebu says, it sure sounds like it. As the storm continued the following day and lightning flashed across the skies, Friedrich came by and reported to Banjenikebu. It's been raining for a while now on the eastern coastline and in the south. We're just getting the tail end of it. There are reports of flooding from the Gulf. It's almost that luckily, we are on the last caravan to Louisiana. Banjenikebu shook his head, we're prepared for bail. Let the parking begin, Usisao. Friedrich shouted, Usisao. They said together, never forget. Just as they shouted, they heard, Usisao, from behind them, and it was Hala and Anaya. Good morning. Anaya was surprised, Uncle Fraida, you're up early. Friedrich smiled, I had to talk to your paps. How are you all? They smiled and replied, doing fine. Hala looked at Banjenikebu, paps, me and Anaya want to make sure Abuxigun gets to where it's going, and we beg of you to let us go with him on this journey. Banjenikebu was proud and replied, but, of course. He wouldn't have it any other way. They had the skycrafts ready when Abuxigun came outside, struggling with 3 large bags. Hala sighed, Leo, boy, where you think you're going? On vacation. Hala and Anaya started going through his things. You need this, not that. Throwing stuff on the ground, Abuxigun got upset, looked at his stuff on the ground, and threw them everywhere. I don't enjoy going anywhere with you two, just think you know everything. Hala said, just be quiet, and her handing him a pumpkin that she achieved in her knapsack. Abuok smiled, for real? Man. Hala smiled, yes, her name is Bobo, but you can call her whatever you like. Excited, he carefully put the knapsack around his neck. No, Bobo, it is. Vanjenie que bus to their sign, farewell, my son, as the three rode off to the Watt station in Ciudad Apodaca. A few hours later, while they waited, a man approached them. We were told that you were arriving soon, and well, these are the few that are left. It's less than 200 children, no elders, and most children are special needs, but they are in no wise weak. Their gifts are some of the most powerful ones. Hala looked around. Well, we only need one battalion for this few, and you guys can break down whatever is needed and prepare your routes to go back home and get some rest. We'll take it from here. They broke their battalion into 8 companies, and the 4 speedsters left as the last cycle headed down the Teno. Anaya, Hala, and Abuok, along with Fere and Is, took the lead. They've made many improvements since we last went. Anaya said, and Hala shook her head, easy, and I like it. While resting at Ciudad Cerralbo, a little boy approaches Hala and Anaya. He can't find my father's watch. Hala and Anaya look at the child. We don't understand you, Abuok said. What is there to understand? He can't find his father's watch. Abuok got up. Here, I helped you. Where were you the last time you saw it? Hala and Anaya looked at each other and started laughing. Abuok looked at them strangely. That's so funny. Anaya said, Lil boy, you're a polyglot. That's why you don't. We didn't know what your gift because we spoke English when that boy spoke to us. He spoke a different language, and we didn't understand him. You spoke his language back to him, not knowing you were speaking his tongue. Abuok said, a polyglot. Hala said, yeah, I thought you knew everything. A polyglot is a person who speaks or understands many languages. If not, a language is because it's a gift from Sabas. Abuok smiled Jim. As the little boy grabs, come on. I have to find my dad's watch, it was his great-grandfather's. After about 30 minutes, Abuok had yet to return. The sisters checked on him. There he was, in front of a group of people talking, books like Negro Nation and Cultures or Before the Mayflower. You hear the stories of Cube, a paralyzed king, who ruled Amina, and the Yoruba kingdom, or even the Queen of Rwanda, Rosely Hikanda. I like books of courage and strength, the history before, during, and after slavery much more now than ever. I enjoy reading about rats like Reverend Adiwia Portaki, the Ghanaian king. He led a slave rebellion in Jamaica, and even books like The Life of Josiah Enson, formerly a slave, how a slave helped free 100 slaves even before the Underground Railroad. He couldn't read or write but became a preacher, an author, and even an abolitionist. Did you know that the book Uncle Tom's Cabin was based on his story? But my favorite are stories of bravery like Saraonia Mango, who fought the French in the Battle of Logo, or even Toipurina of the Kumi Beat tribe. This Native American heroine rallied her people to fight against genocide, colonization, and cultural oppression. Seeing his sister, Abuok hesitated for a minute before he continued, I got to, but let me tell you a little bit about Toipurina. For over 50 years, Hala interrupted, Abuok, I thought you were looking for a watch. Abuok said, we find it, and we started talking about different stories and books, and people started joining in. Hala shook her head, well, tell this story and come on, we get up early in the morning. As she walked away, Anaya asked, why didn't you stop him? Hala said to Anaya with a smile on her face, when he throws his hands in the air and starts getting loud, it's about to get started. Anaya laughed as she thought about it, yeah, you're right. As they walked away, they heard Abuok continue his story. 20 missions and about 50 years later, these were not religious caravans trying to win souls, for why did they have the military with them? Padres were living side by side with armed soldiers. These soldiers guarded the mission and kept the so-called new converts, complained while converting the local people to Roman Catholicism. They would punish them by whipping or caning them if they found out they were practicing their own spiritual beliefs or sacred customs. There were reports of women being abused, raped, and forced baptized. Like always, they almost decimated the native population, killing thousands of people among the 50 communities in the valley. That don't sound like Sabbath to me. Abuok Sigun got louder, but there was a lady by the name of Toipurina. Toipurina's home was in San Gabriel, and her people, the Kumibit, became known as the Gabrielino. Many reject the cultural assimilation imposed on them. Toipurina was a respected religious leader and medicine woman amongst her people. Through her training and spiritual guidance, she learned to speak many Tonga languages and became a persuasive communicator. She used her skills to rally a force of 6 villages to attack the San Gabriel mission. Nicholas Jose, who was rallying resistance within the mission, and to Villa chiefs planned a combined attack that day. Hope would overwhelm the guards of San Gabriel and allow them to kill the Spanish invaders. Toipurina's role in the attack drew on her experience as a medicine woman. She immobilized the priests using her spiritual powers while the warriors eliminated the guards. The warriors approached the mission. Unarmed, Toipurina stood by, encouraging them to fight. They scaled the walls of the mission, and the revolt began. The battle was quick. The Spanish soldiers ambushed the takers. Most warriors, including Toipurina, were captured because a soldier who understood some Tomba and overheard people discussing the planned revolt had tipped the missionaries off. Hala was reading a book as Abuok Sigun returned and sat down. You all of a sudden sound like Pops. How is it you know everything but don't like anything? Scratching his head, that's not so. I like history now since he found out I'm somebody through Mommy and Daddy. Hala said, you were somebody when you thought you weren't, but now you know you're somebody because of Mommy and Daddy? You're crazy, little boy. You were always somebody and just didn't know it. Abuok Sigun was embarrassed and then got me. You are always fighting me. Always telling me what? Todo. Hala looked at Abuok Sigun, all this because he told you, you were somebody. Little boy, if you don't get out of my face, I just show you why. And what for? Abuok Sigun scratched his head and tried to walk away. Anaya stopped Abuok Sigun, little brother, your embarrassment of the truth hurts your feelings. One must stay humble at all times. We are the eldest, our job is to correct your mistakes and protect you. I would rather tell you the horrible truth, than a sweet lie. Understand that we allow our hopes to do. My enemies are in front of me because I'm a warrior. I fight them. Must know the truth. My truth is simply to kill or be killed. You are a teacher or preacher, your enemies can walk with you, and you won't even know it. I admire your gift but don't put men, or anyone else's down. Remember, Ab said we are a body and have our jobs to do. Don't let the little finger be jealous of the thumb, they have to work together to be powerful, as a fist. Abuok Sigun looked at Hala, I'm sorry, he was embarrassed and ashamed. Hala smiled, it's okay, by the way, this is your book. Paps told me to give it to you, but since he's working so long, he wanted to reread some of it. This last one I wrote for you the night before we left. A lot of Pap's poetry and stuff is in it, and they write some powerful words and gives an insight of self, being human, and of course Sabbath. Passing in the book, she said. Good night, little boy. Abuok Sigun smiled, I'm still tired of both of you calling me little boy. They smiled at him and said, good night, little boy. The next morning, the little boy whom Abuok Sigun helped find his father's watch approached Hala and Anaya. Can I journey with you? Cause there is no one my age in my group. They looked at Abuok Sigun with blank stares. You wants to come with us? Abuok Sigun said. They shook their heads in agreement. As they headed out, the boy started chatting with Abuok Sigun. Look, what he can do, and morphed into different objects. His gift amassed Abuok Sigun, here, turned into Bobo. The little boy looked at Abuok Sigun, as long as he touched or see, he can be it, but not animals. Just objects. After seeing his gift, Hala and Anaya couldn't comprehend what the little boy was saying. Bet saw his gifts, is good for his sake. Anaya asked Abuok Sigun, what is your little friend's name? Abuok Sigun said, I don't know. Anaya said, even as strangers, you always introduce yourself. Now, ask him his name. Abuok Sigun asked him his name, and said, oh, I'm sorry, my name is Dang, it's Vietnamese, spelled Dng but pronounced John, and it means courageous. Abuok Sigun turned to Anaya, with an attitude. Then, Anaya shook her head, you better change your attitude. That's why we call you little boy. You need to learn etiquette and how to communicate because he spoke for at least 3 seconds, and we know one word didn't come out of his mouth. Hala held Anaya back, look, everyone has the potential to be a friend unless they show otherwise, and your problem is you have always been around family, which allows you to be who you are. Still, you must be friendly to people who are not your friend or family or don't know you, Abu Oxygun said. His name is Tang, but it's pronounced John, is Vietnamese. Hala smiled, you have a lot to learn, little boy. Frustrated, Abu Oxygun grabbed Don's hands, let's walk between them, they are getting on my nerves. I don't want to see them. Dan said, then we should walk in front of them. Because the sisters didn't understand what they were saying, he continued his conversation with Dan. I'm not even the youngest, they are always treating me like a baby. Dan looked at Abu Oxygun and said, it's only me. I wish I had brothers and sisters. My mother and father were Muslim at first, then started worshipping Sabbaths. What is the difference? My father said Sabbaths changed their lives, but my parents are much younger than yours. I'm walking with our neighbor's parents because they are warriors for Sabbaths. Abu Oxygun then said to Dan, that's the difference between the oldest religions, Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, Judaism, Jainism, Confucianism, Buddhism, Taoism, and Shintoism. Zoroastrianism and Judaism are similar to Muslims and Christianity. You see, both of them are now in the Torah, but they used to be two separate books, the Quran and the Bible. Abraham in one, Abraham in the other. Both had the same son, Isaac. Isaac and Rebekah had twins Jacob and Esau, who were given the same premise. The Torah said that Sabbath told Rebekah that she was carrying 2 nations in her body. He stopped and grabbed his Torah out of his backpack. You see, right here, 2 tribes that are now in CIU will be separated. One nation will be stronger than the other. The older son will serve the younger one. He closed the door, later on. He promised both of them they would have a lot of people like the sun. Please, read it for yourself. Christianity and the Muslim grew and grew over the centuries and became many sects with different rules. Many deceived them and started pimping about people to believe lies for money and sex. Dan had a strange look on his face. Pimping? Abu Oxygun said. That's when someone manipulates someone to get whatever they want, usually money or sex. Dan said. You mean, sex? That's nasty. Abu Oxygun shook his head and said, how old are you again? Dan said. 10. Abu Oxygun shakes his head and grabs Dan by the hand, come on, let's catch up. A few weeks later, in Tucson, Banjeni Kebu is at his home in the office when he hears a voice in his earpiece, Banjeni Kebu, come in, it was all. Come in, Banjeni Kebu replied. Off calmly said. You need to see this. Banjeni Kebu jumped on his skycraft and headed toward Dove's location at the watchtower. He thought about Abu Oxygun and Kayed Hala and Anaya on his way to see Ove. Hala, Anaya, come in. No answer, so he Kayed again. Hala, Anaya. Come in. He repeated. This is Eto. It's been a week or 2. Hala and Anaya cannot be reached because they are in a dead zone by now, and communication is not transmitted or received in these areas. They should be near or in Louisiana by now and should be available within the next 24 to 48 hours. They dismissed everyone, and just a handful of US are here wrapping a few things up. Banjeni Kebu responded, 10-4. As soon as he arrived at the watchtower, Ove was outside talking with a few men. He excused himself and approached Banjeni Kebu. I believe things are getting started, follow me. Walking up a couple of flights of stairs to the top of the tower was a radar system. This is Drogba. Banjeni Kebu shook the man's chin and smiled as Ove continued. Drogba as in a group of clusters forming both in Phoenix and El Paso. But what you wanted to show you is this. Banjeni Kebu saw nothing, Ove said. Just what a few minutes, it sometimes comes in and out. A group of small clusters appeared on the screen and quickly disappeared. Ove said, they are using some kind of clocking device, but someone or something is causing the clock to fall because it is fading in and out. One of Ove's warriors ran in, here it goes. The woman said as she ran some wires to the monitor and took a few minutes typing on a computer. Ov introduced the woman as Apana. Apana took 15 minutes before she said, "Here's an aerial view." She zoomed in and looked. There was a band of soldiers. All continued, at first, without nothing about it, but after a few hours, we noticed their direction was toward Hala and Anaya's location. Apana zooms in, "Excuse me, I am the only one who sees this." Vanjenikibu looked at Apana. "I see Mendes of ants." Apana, enlightened with the ability to see at great distances, said, "Yes, but hundreds of thousands of elms and demons are with them." Vanjenikibu asked, "How long will it take them to catch up to them?" Apana scratched her head. "At the rate of speed 24 hours or so." Vanjenikibu remembered what Eto had said and shouted, "Hala and as ran to his skycraft." As the skycraft lifted in the air, Vanjenikibu opened all the channels. "Prepare for total lockdown and my battalion, drop everything, and meet me in Louisiana as soon as possible." Vanjenikibu realized that all communication had been blocked somehow, so I continuously radioed ahead to each location until I got a signal. "This is Vanjenikibu. Does anyone copy?" I heard a voice that went in and out. "This is Emmanuel. I'm here in Lautel, Louisiana. Go ahead." Vanjenikibu paused. "Are Hala and Anya there?" Emmanuel said, "No, we estimate they should be at or just past Pecan Island." Vanjenikibu had just passed the Rio Grande and lost the signal. Turning back around a few miles until I got back in touch with Emmanuel. "Emmanuel, come in." Emmanuel finally responded. "We lost connection for a bit, but I hear you loud and clear now," Vanjenikibu replied. "Our signal is being jammed, and a large group is headed your way. The signal is being jammed from the Rio Grande to somewhere near your location. My battalion is on its way, and I will give them the details, but I need you to contact Annie." "No. I'll box after you to prepare for battle, minus the group in the entrance at the truck stop in Telul. They are tosta. We don't know what the enemy knows." I thought about it for a while because Vanjenikibu wasn't sure if I was speaking to a member or not, so I said, "Usisao." Emmanuel said. "Never forget," I said to Emmanuel. "For this mission, everyone must reply Usisao, and the response should be accordingly, for the enemy is coming, and they have full weapons already." Unaware of the situation, Hala and Anya were miles past Pecan Island on Highway 82 and were about 5 miles away from crossing the old bridge between Wheat Lake and Vermilion Bay. They gathered all the units at the rest stops because they would convene as one unit once they reached Telul and head home together. Anaya carried ahead to tell the troops to get ready and pack up because they would be there within a day. But there was no answer, and she tried to call Hala and tell her of the problem because she was ahead of the group, but all she heard was static. Anaya shouted, "Stop! Something is wrong. Everyone, check your equipment." Everyone noticed that their radio didn't work either. A young man approached. "Not only is my radio not working, but my clocking device is also off." Hala took a moment to think, "Jerry to the bridge. It's going to take a long time for all of us to get across instead of one at a time. We will have to wait until the person in front of us gets at least 10 to 15 feet to the end of the bridge where it's the strongest." Hala called for all the speedsters. There were 17. "Go search the area in all directions 2 at a time and see if something is going on and meet us on the other side. You 3, stay here just in case we need you to cross the bridge." The speedsters left, headed in all directions, then Hala shouted to the crowd, "Let go. Double down." Hala led as Anaya covered the rear. Piling on skycrafts and hoverboards, they raced to the other side of the bridge. Dropping off individuals and returning to get the rest, some speedsters returned once everyone made it to the other side with nothing to report, going as far as 50 miles. But two still needed to show up. Jamal and Eddie, who were headed northwest, "I've gone to radio silence," one speedster said. Hala and Anaya lay explosives across the bridge but waited for the rest of the speedsters to return. Uncertain what to do until the last remaining speedster returned. After an hour, Jamal and Eddie returned. Jamal reported, "There are hundreds of men and thousands of hideous minions and demons trailing them. They are trailing Bain Lewis." Eddie politely interrupted. Seeing the pack, we split up. Some are a few miles north of us and heading to Lotto. Abu-Sigun's new friend kept asking him what was being said. Abu-Sigun interpreted for a bit until he got frustrated trying to interpret and listen to the men simultaneously. Demons are coming after us. Big ones, little ones, all of them imperial, aerial, subterranean, lucifugous, aqueous, and terrene. They are all coming to kill us. Now, shut up. Anaya didn't understand what said, but got amazed at how Abu-Sigun was talking to the little boy. Dan started crying out of fear and ran back across the bridge. You want to go home? Anaya shouted at Abu-Sigun. What did you say to him? Abu-Sigun shouted back. He told him that the imperial, aerial, subterranean, lucifugous, aqueous, and terrene were all trying to kill Luis. Anaya got upset and grabbed him by the ear. Little boy, you have to be compassionate and considerate when you talk to people or even explain things. Understand this, and listen carefully because he will only say it this time and never again. Because of paps, we are well versed in history and spiritual things that many don't understand yet. But when you tell someone else, tell them in a manner that they understand, and sometimes you have to give them some background info to explain your point. Treat them like pies like the turtle Swiss. You can't give them meat, you must start first with milk. Now, go get him and apologize to him, and now. Hala was unaware of what was happening because she was busy figuring out what to do next as she spoke to the warriors. Stamping across the bridge with Bobo, Abu-Sigun ran and grabbed Dang, but Dang was pulling away from him, crying, You want to go home? Abu-Sigun shouted at Dang, Listen, he was aiming at you, cause he was trying to hear, and he shouldn't have yelled at you, but Sabas will protect us. We're not to fear demons, but Sabas, who created the demons as he created us, so he will destroy the demons and protect us. We are greater and better than them, that's why they fear us. Anaya stood at the foot of the bridge, looking at Abu-Sigun and Dang, when a tall stranger appeared out of nowhere, and then she heard a shout. Stand clear. The bridge will blow in 10 . Anaya shouted, No. Abu-Sigun is on the bridge. Seeing the tall man, she asks, Yael. Yael nods, and remembering what her father said, Anaya sees a speedster about to go after Abu-Sigun, but she grabs the speedster before it can take off, saying, It'll be alright, he has another journey. Abu-Sigun finally clears the man behind him as it turns around, and the man holds up his hand. Stop! As the man spoke, the bridge in front of him fell into the water. Abu-Sigun said to the stranger, Yael. Yael nodded his head. Abu-Sigun said to Yael, If you are here to protect me, who is protecting my father? Yael said to Abu-Sigun, Your father can handle himself, and now it's your turn to start your journey for Sabbath. Just as Yael spoke again, the bridge fell off, underneath his feet, into the lake. Abu-Sigun shouted to them. Hold on, holding on to the railing and Bobo, they plummeted into the lake. With the help of Yael, they grabbed a piece of driftwood that rushed them downstream. Abu-Sigun was passed out as Dan tried to whack him as they floated downstream. Abu-Sigun, covered in darkness, sees in a vision, a large stadium, and as he walks towards it, he sees a crowd walking inside. The closer he walked toward the stadium, the more people closing on him. Shoulder to shoulder, he could barely walk any farther. As is Friedrich in the front on the stage, speaking, I am a firm believer that the sense of the sudden evacuation of the children of God is approaching. Our world is descending to madness and evil in preparation for the rise of the kingdom of the beast, the last Babylon. That is why the power has been so great among God's true people. It is to prepare us. Not all will be taken because not all have sold out. Far too many are tied to this world system and have laid down their armor of fight and put on the soul of this world, and are loyal to it more than to God. Some will have to endure the coming tribulation. Those who are prepared will not. Lastly, ask God to fix that thing, that which stands between us and our liberation and deliverance and blessings. Last night, it managed that for him to fix that thing, we had to first let go of it. It can be hard to let go of what we have held to for so long. We often fear the space that letting go will leave pain. We fear facing the unfamiliar or the sense of being alone in the absence of what was there for so long. But God said, Behold, I create a new thing. But to do that, We must let go of the old to create that space it can fill. Have you ever wondered how the Roman barbarians could rise to power and strip from us the glories of being African kings and queens, and establish a kingdom of iron on top of fields of gold? Have you ever wondered how a man of peace whose message of hope and love has served and changed the lives and souls of millions long, after his death could be publicly tortured and murdered on a cross by those he came to save? If you ever wondered how this man's followers and their families could later be rounded up and publicly slaughtered while thousands watched from stadium seats in theaters of blood? If you have ever wondered how millions of indigenous people living in peace in their own lands could be invaded without warning, uprooted, and subjected to genocide, and their lands taken, while simultaneously, hundreds of millions more of their black kin abducted from the motherland, mass enslaved and shuttled around the world to build nations headed by those who believed they had no rights worth respecting, their bodies playgrounds for global atrocities that were unimaginable. It took centuries for them to get free. If you ever wondered how one man could rise to power in one nation while the world sat idle, slaughtering millions while shuttling them on death trains to camps of terror and chambers of horror? If you ever wondered how the hell could rain from a heavenly sky and sedition's flames erupt from below in worldwide conflagration destroying earth and millions of destinies? Or how freedom is dimmed in the light of liberty, and thunderous silence can drown voices out? Ladies and gentlemen, I give you apathy. Its weapons of mass indifference cost more lives than iron or steel. A timeless, invisible war fought by sideline soldiers on bloodless, gutless fields of passivity. Those for whom the cost of doing nothing is worth the price of the freedom to not act for the cause of self. The result of which is the sacrifice of the many for the benefit of a few who give up nothing to gain everything. Friedrich continued as Abu tried to reach him, pushing forcibly toward the stage. It got harder and harder to reach Friedrich. It came to a point where it couldn't go any farther. Abu shouted, "Friedrich!" Louder and louder. When the crowd dispersed, Friedrich was there by himself. Friedrich grabbed Abu by the hand, look, pointing at Daniel, or what appeared to be Daniel. He was much younger, and there was a light behind him. A very dim light grew larger and shone brightly as Daniel eyed. Daniel approached Abu years he sat back and learned the way of Sabbath. Yes, he made mistakes but kept the path. Now listen to what he learned. Of those who hear, few will believe. Of those who believe, few will act. Of those few who believe and act, they will always be opposed by those who neither believe nor act. Daniel paused and then spoke with authority. Thus says the Lord of hosts. He will bless those who have been faithful and prepare a place of safety for them in the coming days of tribulation. He will also send great judgment on the wicked, the faithless, and the rebellious who have prevailed themselves. Rulers and occupants, for too long of this planet. He will pass through theirs like fire through a forest. Daniel falls to the ground. As he's falling, he grabs Frederick and speaks in an unknown tongue. He will put my fist through theirs and stir as if in a pot. The kingdoms of men will fall, and their place of security will be unsettled. Earth will reel and rock like a drunkard and become unstable as all the systems that man has set up as a throne unto himself, will be shaken, and many will fall, never to rise again. They have set themselves up as gods and denied me, the throne of heaven, who is their creator. They slandered and defamed my name and that of the messengers he sent to warn them, and they have chosen other gods in denial of me. Therefore, their choices will be honored. We will see who can deliver them out of my hand. They have dealt unjustly with my people whom ye have sent to them and who serve me. And this will be avenged by my hand. I told you that it was coming. They thought they were challenging you, my servants, but it was me they were challenging. And he will soon give them the chance to confront me. We will see who good is. War is coming. And more pestilence. The peace men have enjoyed will be taken from the earth. Be sure you know good as you think you do. Be sure it is not prayer and arrogance you hide behind because all will be revealed and uncovered in the days ahead. As you have heard me repeatedly say, these are the last days of the run of men on earth. Friedrich and Daniel shouted at Abu, "Go and do his bidding, Usisao," and Abu replied, "You will not forget." Just then, Abu woke up out of his vision as he and Dan lay on the shoreline, raised his head. Seeing Giles sitting down with his legs crossed, Abu said, if that's the kind of help you're going to hear, I'm not sure if I need it. With a blank smile, Giles said. I protect you from death, not pain, but keep that sarcasm, cause that's the kind of sarcasm you need where you're going. Just remember this, they will always try to divide. Abu looked at Giles and said, where am I going? Giles replied, the other side of nowhere.